all your school rugby, all in one place. This is Next Gen 50. Alright guys, welcome to Next Gen 15, and it's obviously been quite some time since we released a video. So today's just going to be a general topic discussion. We'll go through a couple of topics and let you guys know what we're up to and some updates and all the rest of it. But if you are new to our channel, please don't forget to click that subscribe button as well as bell notification. And as soon as new videos are released, you'll be the first to know. So look, obviously videos have been few and far between. Obviously since the COOF has slowed down a bit, businesses has opened up quite significantly, and I am extremely busy with quite a few projects. So obviously time is not my friend. We still try and keep things updated as much as we can on Instagram and Twitter, Facebook, all the rest of it. But obviously YouTube requires a lot more effort. I'll probably be making 1 or 2 exits in the next couple of months, so hopefully that'll give us a bit more time to focus more on some video content. I know that you guys are a fan of that type of work, but thank you for all the support, and let's get into today's topics. So first thing we're going to discuss is the All-Comers League. There's been a lot of confusion about that. Then we're going to look at the ranking system. I'm going to explain to you how we rank the first teams. Then the juniors, why and how. In terms of the rankings. Then we'll move on to the 5 games of the season so far. Obviously, I haven't done a video in a couple of weeks, so there's a lot to discuss. 5 teams of the season so far. I'm not necessarily saying these are the best teams, but the teams that have impressed quite a lot. And then finally, the future. What direction is Next Gen 15 going into, just to keep you guys abreast of developments. So in terms of the All-Comers League, guys, it's extremely difficult for schools to get exposure, especially the smaller schools. Now, it's understandable. I mean, there's so much rugby to be played, and I would like to develop a software system to sort of assist with ranking so we can go from 1 to 500 or ever how many schools play rugby and make things easier. I have discussed a couple of options with some guys. I know that there's some coaches at under 15 and under 14 level that have been in touch with me, for example, and want to put their scores up. That will definitely be something that will be able to try and help with next season. Obviously, there's quite a few moving parts to that, but I'd like to sort of develop a system where the coaches can input their own scores. And obviously then that would go into sort of a proprietary algorithm that would help ranking somewhat. So these are sort of things that we're looking at to help the smaller schools. But the All-Comers League was just a simple solution, in my opinion. So it basically gives a chance for schools of all shapes and sizes to be seen. And yes, it does benefit teams that play more games and those with, in inverted commas, weaker fixtures. But to us, it's all relative. At the end of the day, if you don't have the resources of some of the bigger schools and you are playing a lot of the smaller teams, for example, it's hard to define all of that, right? So we just simply try to do something where it's a very simple system where you get 5 points for a winner, 1 point for a draw, 0 points for a loss, and it doesn't matter who you play, you basically get ranked. And we got over 300 schools on the system so far. And at the end of the day, guys, this is done for fun, and that's what school rugby should be seen as. I mean, there's way too many people that take this a bit too seriously. I mean, I don't know if it's people trying to vicariously live through their children, if they got nothing better to do with their lives, and it's a fringe minority. It's like 1 or 2% of the viewing public. But these type of people, a lot of them are very deranged, and I would have to just say, relax. Enjoy yourself, enjoy the game. I mean, there's nothing better than school rugby. It beats professional rugby any day. I mean, you take a look at some of the games that we've seen this season, guys, which we'll be discussing a bit later. You just don't see that in professional rugby. It's amazing to watch, and it's fun, and that's the way we should be looking at school rugby. We should be looking at it as fun. As soon as this becomes too serious and too professional, the magic just gets lost. So here's an example of the latest All-Comers League table. So you can see Brunwacher at the top right now from Uitenhage. They got 55 points because they got 11 wins. And yes, they played 13 fixtures. So, for example, that's 4 more fixtures than Grey College at 9th place. But Brandwag, generally speaking, even though it's a school with a proud rugby history, you would never see them a number 1 on any ranking system, right? So we just thought we'd try and equalize things a bit, and like I said, a bit of fun. Here you got Merensky at 6 and Craddock at 7. I mean, these are 2 schools that would never feature on anybody's list. So for us, it was just a way for some of the smaller schools to get a bit of exposure. You can go through the entire list and eventually find your school, whether your school's ranked 100 or 200 or 1, it doesn't matter. Again, just a bit of fun. So then we have to move on to the first team rankings. So this is on the website, and every time we release the rankings, there's a section there that says, hey, if you want to know how this works, click here. But it seems that very few people want to read, and that's okay. So we're just going to include it in this video to make the process easier. And obviously, it'll just be a case of if someone's got any questions, I'll just send them to this video and they can watch it. It'll probably be a lot more easier than reading for some people, I guess. So first thing is that there's no such thing as a rankings expert. Anybody who sort of proclaims to be a rankings expert is full of BS. It's all opinion based, no matter what anybody says. That's just a fact. And look, we're going to continue to refine and develop our own system, and we welcome any constructive criticism. This is about a learning process, and the only way you actually get better is that if someone gives you better ideas, and the only way you can get better ideas is if you're willing to accept some criticism, and we're more than willing to accept any criticism. So just very briefly, I'll try and make this as brief as possible. We basically got key performance areas that we rank on, and just to mention something else, guys. Anybody else that does rankings, I welcome them to be as transparent as we are. If you're going to have a ranking system, try and be transparent. Show what you do, explain it in detail. And maybe we can all learn from each other. Maybe who knows? I mean, maybe it's a dream world I'm living in, but maybe one day we could have a unified South African school ranking system. I think that would be amazing, but that's probably a pipe dream. Anyway, so first we got the quality index. Basically, schools are ranked from A to E. So you've basically got the top 85 schools in the country. And again, that's opinion based. And obviously, look, we haven't had two full seasons for 2 years. So this was definitely a thumb suck, but you basically got category A, B, C, D, and E schools based on the program's historical strength. Generally, what I'll do in the future is I'll look at the under 16, how they performed at under 16 level, and then we'll wait 2 or 3 games, and then we'll basically give them a quality index rating, and that's basically the base of it. So if you don't get your quality index rating 100% right, basically what happens is the whole system folds, right? So it's a bit of a tough one. Anyway, then you got winning points. So if you play and beat an A school, 50 points, B 40 points, etc., etc., I think you get the point over here. Essentially, you get a much higher level of points for beating a higher quality of opposition. Then losing points, obviously, we want to reward teams for playing tough for opposition. So, I mean, if you got an A, if you lose to an A team, you automatically get 30 points, B 20, and obviously lower and lower we go. And then drawing points, again, it's based on strength. So A's 40, B's 30, C's 20, etc., etc. Then we look at venue. So if you win away, if you play away, so just where you play. If you play away, it's 15 points, neutral grounds 12 points, and home is 10 points. Then we look at the winning margin. More than 20 is 35, between 14 and 19, 25, 8 and 13, 20, and then less than 7, you get 15 points. So margins are quite important in this system. Then lost margins, I mean, if you lose more than 20, you get 0 points. Between 14 and 19, you get 3, 8 and 13, 6. And then if you lose by less than 7, you get 10 points. If it's a draw, 20 points are awarded to both teams. Excuse me. So basically what happens is that you get an overall score based on each game, and then it's averaged out to create a rating, okay? So a maximum score that a team can hope to achieve is 100 points, and an example of this would be Grey College against Paarl boys last year, okay, in 2021. Now, that game was 37-3 in favor of Grey, and it was played at Paarl. So basically Grey would get 50 points because Paarl boys are a category A team. That's 50 points for a win. Venue was away from home, so they got 15 points, the maximum there. Then the margin, they get 35 points, and obviously it's more than 20, so they get, there was more than a 20-point margin, so they get the full 35 points, which give you a total of 100. So for those who are interested, Paarl boys as a losing team, they would have got a total of 40 points, 0 with margin, obviously, because there's more than 20 points, but they played a Category A team, and the venue was at home, so they basically get 40 points altogether. So basically, Paarl boys, even losing by such a high margin, would score more points than, say, if a Category B team beat a Category E team at home by 7 points. So if that happens, so Category B team, for example, beats a Category E team by, say, 6 points or 7 points within that margin, they get 35 points. So even though Paarl boys loses by 34 points, they still get more points than a team that's playing much weaker opposition. That's a closer score. So that's what we're sort of looking at. So the feeling is that it's going to get more accurate as the season continues. But if not, then back to the drawing board. Again, it would be nice to sort of get some input and some ideas and all the rest of it. You can make this as complex and as simple as you want, I suppose. But again, welcome anybody's feedback, and who knows, one day that dream of a unified ranking system could come true. But I can never imagine the bloggers and the media guys are sort of cover school rugby would ever be able to agree on anything. I just think there are too many egos at play, and that's no disrespect to any of them. I think everybody's got their own system, everybody's got their own level of talent, and they all deserve to be respected for what they've done for the school game. But yeah, I mean, come on, let's be honest. I mean, some of the guys have been involved in this for a very, very long time. So to sort of, I don't know if anybody would be willing to give up the lead in that, but who knows what could happen in the future. So here's an example of the top 10 currently today. We're going to release this obviously on our social media platforms and all the rest of it. So you see Grey College right now 77.78, up by 2 places. Now Garsfontein, for example, RTS Middelburg are considered a C level, right? So if they played an A level school and won, they would have been in first place right now. It was also the margin of victory. If they beat RTS by more than 20 points, it would have made a difference as well. Paarl Gym obviously dropped by 4 places. But if you can look at the margins here, guys, it's like you could drop by 4 places in 1 week and then go up by 5 places another week. So it fluctuates quite a bit. And for those that are interested, here's Grey College. Again, been completely open and transparent here. If you guys want to take a look over here, press pause, and you can basically see the overall score as it stands now. I've got nothing to hide. I'm doing this because I love it, and I'm doing this because I want to learn. So if there's any suggestions or anything out there, my email address is very easy to find, and obviously there's a comment section down below. Okay, so in terms of the juniors, right? So this is purely done because, look, I first started this YouTube thing in 2018, and every single month without fail, someone asked me to cover the juniors. So I will continue to refrain from mentioning players outside of the under 17, 18 system, because trust me, guys, you don't want the harassment from recruiters. I mean, if you're known to be an exceptional 15-year-old, you and your family are going to get harassed. Like, I wouldn't say harassed, that's probably the wrong word. Maybe harassed is the right word in certain instances. But also recruiters must do their own work and due diligence. It's not our job to do it for them. So, I mean, look, there are obviously under 14, under 15 and under 16 players that we know about and that we highly rate, but we're not going to go mention those to anybody. And we're not going to mention it on a public platform either because, I mean, when we did our 10 or 12, whatever it was, under 16s to watch video, what was it, 2 years ago? Those guys got harassed nonstop by agents, man. It was really bad. Seriously, it was really bad. So it was like, okay, we're not going to mention anybody's names anymore, but we can do a ranking system. So the system, there is no system. Contradict myself a bit there. It is purely a thumb suck, and it's there more to be inclusive to the lower age groups who obviously I feel work just as hard as the first team and the open teams, and they definitely deserve some form of recognition, guys. So that's pretty much why we're doing it. There is no system to it. Yes, maybe in the future there can be a system with the points allocation and all the rest of it. But again, I run 4 companies, guys. I'm extremely busy. I don't have the time to input calculations across like 5 different age groups and all the rest of it. But hopefully one day we can have a software system where everyone can just input the scores and everything just automates. So let's move on to the 5 games of the season so far in no particular order. Roos versus Paarl. This is just over the weekend. Roos looked dead and buried. What a comeback. You have to just mention Lorenzo Julius in this one, guys. They call him the boogeyman for a reason. He came back to haunt Paarl. I think most people would have been very confident of a gym victory over here, but Roos showed a lot of spirit. I'm a massive fan of their rugby. I'm a massive fan of their culture. Take nothing away from Jimmy's. I mean, to think that they got Liam Kuhn out, they got Logan Opperman out. I mean, these are some important players that you're missing, but they don't make excuses. They go back to the drawing board. I just think if it was an injury-free year for Jim this year, I think it would have been very difficult to beat a team like this. But it's obviously been a tough year for them. And also when the most talked about first team in recent memory, and you've never lost a game as an age group, obviously everybody's coming for you. Everybody's going to try and, knock the king out of the castle, so to speak. So great fixture over here. What a fantastic game. Then Roos against Bishops was another fantastic fixture. Again, Roos looking dead and buried. Then Julius comes on, and what does he do? He just makes a difference again. I mean, I can't stop, giving this guy applause. He was just absolutely fantastic. Take nothing away from Bishops. They really fronted up. But that comeback was insane, and it just showed the culture and spirit and the fighting spirit that exists within Roos. Bishop's very, very talented side this year. Then Affies beating Paarl. That was, I think, that surprised everybody. Even though it was at Affies, and Affies got a very useful team this year, I think a lot of people are completely shocked with that, guys. That showed a lot of character and spirit from Affies, especially when you consider the fight back that they had to basically battle on. I mean, they looked dead and buried, and what a comeback! And I mean, inspirational captain there, Stan Heymans. Their forward pack looked fantastic. There's some very exciting talents in that Affies team, and a couple of those guys are going to be back next year as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Garsfontein against Roos. Many say this is the game of the season. Now it was this. Roos have been the comeback kids. This time it was Garsfontein. They looked dead and buried, guys. It looked like it was game over. There was nothing that was going to happen. And in the final couple of seconds of the game, they take the victory. And here Lawrence Park is shouting, he sort of personified in his commentary that sort of comeback and the surprise. It was absolutely amazing to watch. And to think this team last year lost 84-0 to Paarl. I mean, this is just a different level of team over here, guys. Very exciting. And let's see what happens as the season progresses. Then obviously what many call the game of the season. I mean, this is the one that everybody was looking forward to, let's be honest. Grey College wanted to avenge for their loss last year. Paarl looked like they had their backs against the wall. They had that loss to Affies. Now Grey had that loss to Oakdale. Hey, some question marks over the refereeing over there, but you don't want to take away anything from Oakdale. Even if the worst referees on the field and you get a draw against Grey, that's something to be very proud of. So, both teams had something to prove, and this was just high quality rugby, like from start to finish, neither team giving an inch. But it was Jim that edged it, 2 wins in 2 years. Next year, Grey have a very, very special side, obviously. I don't think they're going to take this one line down. They're definitely going to want their revenge over Gimmies. But Paarl can definitely be proud of themselves for an amazing performance that day. Okay, so 5 teams who have impressed so far this season. First up, and again, no particular order, Affies. They were very much an unknown quantity this year because obviously we haven't had rugby for the last couple of years. But a well-coached and well-drilled outfit, guys. They look like an exciting team. And the program, when you're looking at the lower age groups, this is a program on the rise. This is a program that's going places. I think Affies are just, in terms of their rugby culture and their old boys and all the rest of it, they don't take average results lying down. So I think there's been a rebuild from, the foundations up. And there's a very exciting future awaiting Affies. There's no doubt about that. Then Bishops goes without saying. I mean, I think we just looked at it and thought to ourselves, right, 2020 was a dream generation. You had Connor Evans, Ngomo Zulu, you had Keegan Blankenberg. I mean, you had 4 or 5 guys that could have played SS schools in that team. And then 2021, I think people thought to themselves, okay, it's not going to be quite as special as 2020. Wow, they were special. And then it was just like, well, 2022. I mean, you can't go 3 years in a row with that high level of quality, and it looks like it's like a fine wine. They just seem to be getting better every year, although it's hard to judge because of the lack of rugby that is played in 21 and 20. But wow, what a team this year. I definitely think the surprise package of the season so far. Just been playing some outstanding, entertaining rugby. And I can't wait for them to see them take on some of the southern, not the southern suburbs, the Winelands giants. Well, southern suburbs game is going to be good as well. Wynberg and Rondebosch are no joke this year. They just played Sax, obviously. Sax having a bit of a disappointing season by their standards. But definitely interested to see what happens when they play the Wineland schools. That's going to be very, very entertaining. I mean, they pushed Paarl Roos all the way, but look at Paarl Roos did to Paarl Jim. Anything can happen this season, guys. That's what makes it so exciting. Framesby is another one, Port Elizabeth-based school. They're definitely not a top 5 or even a top 10 school at this stage, with all due respect to them. But I love the way they play in their rugby. They play in their rugby with a lot of entertainment. I really enjoy the flow of Logan Muller. To me, he gets that backline moving. They play as a well-drilled unit. They play for each other. They play their hearts out, guys. They don't stop until the final minute. I've just got a high level of respect for them. And I think they can definitely be up there in terms of the Eastern Cape Championships this year. Then Hilton. I mean, again, like last year's team looked to be sort of like a golden generation with quite a few players that were high level. And I think this year, again, same as Affies, unknown quantity, but they've just delivered. They've had some outstanding performances. Just disappointed with that game against Paarl boys, not because of their performance, purely because of the quality of the field. And that's not St. John's fault. I mean, it was raining like hell. I mean, there's no way you can control that. But I just wish that the weather gods played their part and we could have had a decent track for both teams to play on. I'm not saying that Hilton necessarily would have beaten Paarl boys, but I'm just saying it would have definitely been a lot more of an open game. And I just think that would have been extremely entertaining to watch. Then Garsfontein. I think it goes without saying. I mean, they had to go back to the drawing board, just hired Bart Skuman in as athletic director, someone that's, Bart was a huge part of what made Waterkloof a powerhouse in the mid-2000s. I mean, if you look back at their 2006 team, took on all comers, also recruit at the Lions. So also you got Hannes from School of Rugby, who's got a heck of a lot of knowledge of school rugby. He's joined there as marketing manager. So they've basically created a dream team. And the thing with Garsfontein is that they've always recruited very well, but that culture, that's the thing that, like Paarl boys, Paarl Jim, Paarl Roos, Grey College, they've got a long culture of winning. So it's ingrained in them from a young age, right? They've got a long history and long culture. Garsfontein is not a old school; it's still a relatively young school. So while you have all this talent, the culture still needs to be developed. And I think with key appointments, that culture has started to be developed. When you have culture, that's the difference between beating Paarl Roos in the final moment and conceding 2 soft tries in the final moments. There's a big difference between the two. So I really think that culture is developing over there. It puts them in good stead for the future. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens more in the future. Then finally, Dale College. And yes, this is a sentimental one, guys. Perhaps the results on the pitch haven't been the best in the country. They've got an illustrious rugby history and all the rest of it. But think about the hell the school has been through over the last couple of weeks. They lost 2 learners. I mean, when you're at school, you should not have to experience the loss of a friend or a brother. You shouldn't have to experience that. That comes later in life. That type of pain, to have to deal with it. And you're more well-equipped to deal with that pain later in life. But to lose 2 key figures at the school in such a short period of time was just, I can't even imagine what the boys must have been going through. But if you see them on the field, despite what they've gone through, they play until the last minute. And you just got to think of the school as one in terms of the poaching. I mean, they just get ransacked by every school out there. A lot of their talent gets taken away from junior school level. So Dale College at under 13 might be one of the best teams in the country. But by the time those guys get to 18 years old, 90% of them have probably been recruited by schools around the country. So it just takes a special amount of character to go through that amount of loss. not only in terms of the recruitment side, but in terms of the death of two of the learners that were held in such high esteem at the school. So yes, this might be a sentimental one, but I think one that's due. So finally, let's get to speak about the future of NextGen15. I've always been transparent with my audience, and that's not going to stop now. So it's not only businesses that have kept me busy and unable to regularly make videos, guys. As I said, I run numerous businesses, so I'm extremely busy. But NextGen15 is entering a new phase, and high-level talks have been held with numerous parties that can and will take the brand to the next level. I sort of think people are starting to see the value in what we're doing and how it can sort of be scaled up. Now, this was a labor of love, and there's a lot of you that have commented that the personal approach has somewhat been lost since the UK merger from a South African perspective. And look, to be honest, it's likely to drift away a bit more if I'm completely honest. And most of you that follow the channel and watch the YouTube are youngsters, and one day you're going to realize that this is the natural life cycle of a business. You either got to adapt and accept that change is inevitable, or you die out. So I'm all about adaptability, right? And that goes hand in hand with age, and that's just something that you'll eventually experience with time. So we've always felt that putting athletes first is the best approach, and this was what sort of ensured unprecedented growth across all our platforms, and this will always continue to be our approach, our core mission. And rugby, like any business, needs mavericks. I mean, you need people that are going to come in and change things up, shake things up a little bit. And the areas that we're looking at right now are rights holding, talent identification, and travel. I think these are sectors in terms of rugby where disruptors are sorely needed. I mean, if I take a look at some of the prices that these youngsters are being charged to attend an academy or to flown, I mean, I've been approached nonstop by these guys, and there's another vlogger that discussed this as well, and he was completely right. It is a big problem, you know, when you get promised that if you go to a certain country, it's going to cost you 50, 60 grand or whatever it is, and you're going to meet scouts and agents and this and this and this. Trust me right now, and I'll know this from experience. The guys in France, the guys in Ireland, the guys in England, they know who they want, okay? Think about it. If you're a recruiter or an agent, you don't need to take a plane over to South Africa and attend a festival necessarily. You can watch it all on Super Sports Schools, quick punt over there. But you can watch it on multiple platforms, right? So you don't need to travel all over the place to basically go and find talent. Talent is very easy to find right now. But I do think there are those in the industry that are doing the right thing in terms of all sectors. They're doing the right thing by their players and by the athletes, and then there are others that are definitely not doing the right thing by these people, like these youngsters, you know. And the economic situation in South Africa is not great. So to have someone pay this unprecedented amount of money to go on a tour in the hope that there might be a contract, it's something I really disagree with it. The reason why I'm stuttering is because I'd be using 4-letter words right now, but this is a family channel, and I'm not talking about anyone specific over here. I'm just saying that I can understand a company needs to make profit. I can understand, you need to make money, but at the same time, if there's a kid that doesn't necessarily have that level of talent to go all the way, you should at least be honest with him and say, right, this might be a great cultural experience for you, but I'm not going to guarantee that you'll get a contract or anything like that. If it's positioned like that, I've got no problem with it. But if it's basically like, hey, pay 50, 60,000 Rand, tour Ireland, we're going to get you a contract, or tour England, we're going to get you a contract. If you don't have a UK ancestral visa or EU passport or something like that, forget about England, forget about Ireland. France has got the drift system. There are plenty of clubs looking for players over there and all the rest of it, but they've got their own scouting network. They've got their own connections. They know who they want. They've identified most of their talent already. So just be very careful of people offering a lot for a lot of money, because ultimately at the end of the day, you are not going to get a lot of value from that, and you're going to be out of pocket a lot. We've got the Talent Hub, guys, and you can sign up there for free. We try to monetize it, and we're like, what are we doing? This is not our mission. We're not here to make money out of youngsters. So it's just a section on the site where you can create your own profile. We're doing it in conjunction with the School of Rugby SA. So that's for free. So go on there, create your free profile. You can upload videos, you can upload your stats, you can do anything you want completely for free, and then take that link and send it to agents and send it to clubs all over the world. Put some of the work in yourself. You don't necessarily need an agent. I mean, this is just the reality. Just do some of the hard work yourself. If you take a look at Garsfontein from Paarl, right? He went over to Edinburgh. He did that with an agent, you think? Nope. Negotiated everything himself. That's a high-level player. So many agents were after him in the first place. He did everything himself. There are circumstances where you probably need an agent, especially when it comes to contract negotiations and all the rest of that. But if you got that level of talent, the agent will find you. You don't necessarily need to find the agent, and you certainly don't need someone to introduce you to an agent to take a commission of it. I mean, this is getting ridiculous. Anyway, that's my rant over there. Now, finally, we don't always get things right, but we try. So thanks to all of those who've supported this journey, and even to our detractors, guys. You're equally important in us developing a better product. So with that, thanks a lot for taking the time to watch this video. And as always, have a fantastic week further. Cheers. Bye.